It is now time for mini practice number 2, no groaning. I guarantee it will be hands down the best review that you'll have for the final exam. If you can do this, you will be comfortable with the final exam, because the final exam is this company with these transactions in just an abbreviated form. You're not going to have as many accounts, you're not going to have as many transactions. But every transaction you see on the final exam will be somewhere in this mini practice. I'm going to go through the instructions. We're going to read through them together. I'm going to point out a couple of instructions in here that you won't have to do. And then we're going to take a look at the accounting stationery and make sure that you know what needs to be recorded on each page. So here we go. Company background. Scholastic Success is a tutoring service owned by and managed by Lisa Adams. That's a really long company name. And I know those financial statements, you have to put the company name. If you want to just put Scholastic Success, that would be fine. It has been in business for 1 month. The business is organized as a sole proprietorship and provides tutoring services in a number of disciplines for students from pre-kindergarten through high school. The business earns revenue from tuition charged for one-on-one instruction and special classes. So they're going to have actually 2 forms of revenue, one for private lessons and one for group lessons. Your responsibilities as the accounting clerk for this business is to use the accounting stationery in your working papers to complete the following activities. 1, you're going to open the general ledger account for each account in the chart of accounts. Open it only. Don't record any transactions. Just open them with the name and the number. Remember, you have to record the transactions first in the journal, and then you post it to the general ledger. Number 2 says you're going to analyze each business transaction. You're going to enter those business transactions into the general journal beginning on page 1. Once they're entered into the journal, you're going to post each journal entry to the appropriate accounts in the general ledger. This is what you can skip. You can skip instructions 5, 6, and 7. We're actually doing this mini practice before chapter 11 so that your instructor has some time to grade it and get it back to you before the final exam. We will cover this material in chapter 11, but it won't be tested on it. You will be responsible for doing the assignments, and you'll be getting credit for doing those assignments. You just won't be tested on it in the final exam. So don't mark in your book, but just make a mental note. 5, 6, and 7 you don't have to do. Coming down to 8, it says prepare a trial balance and complete the worksheet. If you recall, at the end of the first mini practice, you prepared a trial balance. See, I'm in the line here. You prepared a trial balance. You're going to prepare another trial balance, except it's not going to be a standalone trial balance. If you recall from the worksheet, the first 2 columns are the trial balance. So you're going to complete the trial balance and then finish out the rest of the worksheet. Let's see here. We're down here to number 9. Once you have prepared the worksheet, you're going to prepare an income statement, a statement of changes in owner's equity, and a balance sheet. After you've prepared the financial statements, number 10, you're going to journalize and post the closing entries. And number 11, you're going to prepare a post-closing trial balance. The transactions are over on the next page. Let's take a look very quickly over there. Nothing new here. Here's our chart of accounts at the top. Hold on. Here's our chart of accounts at the top, and then we have our transactions down below. Remember, it is okay to have multiple transactions on the same day. So I've got December 2nd and December 2nd. Don't combine them. Just make 2 separate transactions dated with the 2nd. Okay. I want you now to open up your workbook to page 241. If you need to, stop the video until you get everything that you need. I'm going to adjust this. And we're going to go through each page of the mini practice in your workbook. On page 241, here's your chart of accounts. It's the same one that you see in the textbook. In the pages that follow, you see the source documents. You do not have to use the source documents. Rather, you can just use the transactions out of the textbook. Let me widen out here a little bit. Turn to page 244. On pages 244 and 245, you see 2 journal pages. You are going to be using all of the first page and half of the second page for your transactions. Now note on my little post-it note here, in addition to using it for the monthly transactions, you're also going to use this same page for your closing entries. So wherever we leave off with our last transaction, you'll simply write closing entries underneath it and begin with your record your 4 closing entries. Don't forget, if we start with page 1 over here, we're going to label this page 2. You're going to start with a year and a month, just like we started the first page with a year and a month. Turn now to page 246. This is our first account, it's cash. You're going to need a lot of lines. Make sure you're starting cash on this account. If you start it over here, you will not have enough room. General ledger is pretty self-explanatory, so work your way over to page 250. If you want to take a pen and mark this out, you can. These are what you would do to, this is the page you would use to correspond with steps 5, 6, and 7, which we are no longer doing. Now on page 251, there's an example of, or not an example, but there's a worksheet. Just a little reminder here, use the worksheet instead of another financial form to record the trial balance. So you're going to complete the trial balance here, and once it's balanced, then you're going to carry it over to the income statement and balance sheet. Turn to the next page. On page 252 at the top, you'll use that first one for your income statement. The bottom one corresponds with instruction 9, and it's for the statement of changes in owner's equity. On page 253 at the top, you'll use that top one for the balance sheet. And be very, very careful. A lot of people want to put the closing entries here. This is not your journal. Remember, you have to go back to the second page of your journal and write those closing entries. You're going to post those closing entries to the appropriate ledger account. And then you're going to come back over here and create the post-closing trial balance. And then you're done. Easy peasy. Good luck.